is that I can't live even for my parents. I can't live for their will. At the end of the day, as a Christian, as a believer, I have to live for the calling that I have on my life. My calling may not be to be a doctor.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Weapon Christ Podcast, show where we inspire the masses to become financially free while building God's kingdom. On our podcast today, we have Mr. David Simon. Mr. David is the founder and CEO of Kingdom Social Media. In this podcast, we will discuss Mr. David's entrepreneurship journey and how he teaches business owners and ministry leaders how to leverage their social media for growth. So thank you for being here, Mr. David.
Thank you for having me on, Damilola. Truly an honor and a pleasure, brother.
How are you doing today?
I'm well. I'm grateful.
That's great. That's great. So my first question, who is Mr. David Simon?
David Simons is a man of God. He's a husband. He's an entrepreneur. And it's in that order. And someone who's looking to create as much change in the lives of others as possible, as much as possible in the area of understanding their gift, marketing, developing their gifts and marketing their gifts.
That's really great. So what led you to become an entrepreneur? You mentioned that that's one of the things you are. So what led you to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, really just not fitting the mold of what society, of what traditional ways of thinking are. I was not really good in school. I didn't follow rules very well. I got into a lot of trouble as a kid. So I just loved the ability to take ownership for things, right? Or whether it's good or the ownership wasn't, the things didn't work out to the way I wanted to. I liked being in control of my own destiny, my own ship. So I think I started as an entrepreneur. First thing was like lemonade stands, right? As a kid. And then I graduated to running a record label. Had a record label called Burnt Out Records in high school. And then what I used to sell on the side, I used to sell CDs in school, blank CDs. I don't even know if you probably don't even remember those. You might be too young for those. We used to burn CDs and sell the CDs to people. And yeah.
Wow. So how did you go from selling lemonade to having your own, music group, but now, owning Kingdom Social Media? Like what was like the path, the transition that you was making, the change?
Yeah. So I want to say it started, I think it's in the blood, right? My family's from Ghana, West Africa. My grandmother was a hustler. She hustled in the streets in a place called Quatakraba in Cape Coast. And then my mom, she's a nurse, but she's always been a hustler too. And so I guess it's in my blood, honestly. So starting out, I just felt like, hey, I'm gonna be real with you. I was like, hey, I don't want to eat these tuna sandwiches every day the mom's making me in high school. I want options. I want the Frito boats that they sell at school. I wanted the biscuits, whatever they had. I'm telling you the real truth. That was a motivation in high school. I was like, I don't want to be limited. So selling things like CDs, and then the record label. I just love music, and I've always been a fan of music. Been in media. And that grew naturally. I used to produce beats, make beats on Fruity Loops, and then from there I left high school, graduated, but I'm always transparent about my story. I was actually expelled from high school in my junior year of high school. I cracked into the system. There's this pressure, African pressure to succeed, right? Lawyer, doctor, engineer, accountant. That's it. That was all that was respected. I was supposed to be the engineer. My brother's supposed to be the doctor. And in my junior year, I wasn't doing well in the English class, and I was getting a D. And I was like, man, rather than going home and tell my mom I'm getting a D, I was like, that seems like torture. Let me go ahead and try to figure out another way to get this grade up. And so hacked into the system, changed my grade from a D to a B, and then somebody told, and from there I was expelled from the high school and the district. So you can imagine the pain I brought my mother, especially being an African immigrant who immigrated here through education. Education was her ticket here, and she always harps on education. So leaving there, miraculously, I get accepted into Sacramento State University, where I'm studying engineering my first 2 years. First year, I hate it. Second year, first year was fine. Second year, I hate it. I'm like, how do I transition out of this? So I said, I'm gonna change my major to digital media because I was always fascinated with that. And my mom was like, what are you doing with your life? Like I put you in school and this is what you're going to do with your life. You waste this nonsense. Right. And I just followed it, man. I followed the passion. I said, I like this. I like this media world. So from there, I started helping to help friends of mine with their MySpace pages. For listeners who are old enough to know what MySpace is, MySpace and Facebook. I was using that for fun. From there, I took all of those things and started to develop ways to grow pages. And then from there, led from one thing to another. I left Sacramento, California, moved to New Jersey initially, and worked for a company called TerraCycle, where I handled digital marketing campaigns for Frito-Lay, Kraft, Huggies, Staples, and all these other major CPG companies. And I took all that information, and essentially I was a one-man band running a digital marketing agency within a company that was doing recycling. And I essentially became like an agency within a company. And I said, well, why don't I create my own? So I started creating Creative Kingdom social media on the side, and it led from one opportunity to the next. And here we are today. We're 6 years in, and we've served so many clients, hundreds of clients, in all the facets of digital marketing.
No, that's pretty impressive. And and I can relate to you, in terms of getting suspended in high school. I actually got suspended my last year in high school for selling candy. Because like it's just wanting more. You want something more in our life. It was tired of just half hands buying whatever sneaker that they would buy me. I wanted the latest sneakers and clothes. So I could definitely relate to that
Yeah.
perspective. But one thing that I wanted to ask you about, and you kind of mentioned, when you got suspended, the the reaction you got from your mother,
Mm.
like dang, education, like how could this be, my only son, da 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 da. I can just imagine, like, what was that process like, that conversation like?
One of the most memorable turning points in my life, even though I didn't change in a positive way till years much later. It's really the drive that keeps me going today. The fact that I had to face my African mother and see from her face the tears that were streaming down her face, but it wasn't tears of like crying. It was like anger and disappointment. Like she wasn't trying to cry, but the tears were coming. And she was so hurt to her core that it shook her, right? She was like, this is the same thing. And I didn't understand this then. This is the same thing that she used to be one of the only people in her family. She has 6 siblings. Um, and she was one of the only ones to immigrate from uh, Ghana to London and then to the US. So education was literally her world. And the same thing that she used to get here, I disrespected and I didn't appreciate. So it hurt her to her core. And my mom is one of my major drivers for me, is to show her that every investment she made in me wasn't in vain. It's to show her that all the sacrifice, all the things she did wrong, all the things she did for me and my younger brother, I appreciate it. And I'm thankful for it. So when I think about that, that thing triggers me to say, hey, get on it, Dave. Stop slouching. Stop. Even if I'm not really a slouch at all, but to to really make sure that I refocus. So it was one of the most pivotal turning points for me as a young man.
No, and I want to also add, as you change your concentration or your degree from engineering to digital marketing, I'm sure you had to have another conversation where, just I know what it's like being that coming from African home, Nigerian, like you said, is doctor, lawyer, engineer, now is nurse. And if you're none of those four or none of those top five, like what are you doing with your life? They don't entrepreneurship is a foreign word. So how did you go about having that conversation, and what is that relationship like now between you and your
Yeah,
mother?
yeah. I'm so glad you bring that up because that was also a big turning point. Like I had to, the pressure to succeed and the pressure to become what they've always wanted you to become, and I had to break from that shell. Like, yeah, I could possibly do this engineering thing, but I'll be miserable.
Mm.
And I knew that. And so I knew I wasn't going to get a word in. So I wrote a letter. I wrote my mom a 7-page letter breaking down in detail why I'm not going to become an engineer. And I'm going to go into this thing. I wish I still had that letter. I got to find it. Um, why I'm not going to become an engineer. I'm going to go into this thing called digital media. And I knew, because I knew if I tried to have a conversation, I wasn't going to get a word. So I said, Mom, read this and let's talk about it. And she she was just like, whatever, I don't know what to do with you. And she did not think it was a good idea all the way up until I got my first really serious job in the field. Still didn't. um and I think she's come to grasp with it today, and still ask me about, and I think Africans always think about stability. A lot of people think about stability. um but today she has a much more respect for it. I'm blessed to be able to help her get money to build her home, do small things here and there. I haven't done the big things yet. I haven't bought her the dream crib I want to get her, or some of the things that I want to do. So I'm motivated to do that. But today it's a different position. It's a different respect of what I do. I don't think she fully understands it still. But today there's a more of a respect than there was before. I still got some levels to get to where that respect will be ultimate.
No, that's well said. And I want to ask, what would you want to say to someone who may come from African back home, or just be in the same situation where the full career goals are becoming a lawyer, doctor, but that's not really what they're passionate, and they don't want to have this conversation with their parent. And as school's about to start like in the next couple of weeks, for most of these students, and you know how it goes. A lot of these kids go to school, they flop out, they start living the secret life. So what would you tell to that student before they go on and they live the secret life?
Great question, man. And you're a great interview, by the way.
Thank you.
So I would say that the thing that actually helped me to do that was actually my mom. She doesn't realize it. She helped me to make a decision against her will. And because she used to watch a lot of Oprah, right? And Oprah had this one episode, I'll never forget it. It was this kid, this guy, I forget what background he was. I forget, either Eastern European, Jewish, I don't remember. But he was this guy that he parents wanted him to become a doctor. He became a doctor, and he did really well financially and successful and all that stuff. But he hated it, and he came on the show to show what he really enjoys doing, which is baking cakes. And he became an amazing baker and did great work in baking. And I never forgot that episode because it showed me, I was like, well, that's fulfillment. It's not just doing something purely for the money. You got to do it because you really feel it's something you can make an impact with, and something that you can that will give you fulfillment. So I say all that to say is the same advice that I got from that show, is that I can't live even for my parents. I can't live for their will. At the end of the day, as a Christian, as a believer, I have to live for the calling that I have on my life. My calling may not be to be a doctor. I have already an innate motor inside of me that shows me I didn't decide to love media. It was innate. I just drew towards it. And I know that I have to navigate, I have to gravitate to the things that I'm drawn in my spirit, which I know are usually of good things that are going to help people, right? But you have to follow what God has put inside you to do, and what you feel a yearning towards, what you can't get enough information about. This is some things that I look for when I'm trying to find something that I'm supposed to do. Is I can't get enough information. I can't keep studying enough about it. I want to learn as much as I can. I'll sit and study. I'll never forget. This is when I knew I was like, yo, this is the world I need to be in. I was in my junior year of college. I was always told as a kid, David, you're so lazy. You're so lazy. You're so lazy. And I thought I was lazy. But this is an epiphany moment where I was literally in the student lab for the media lab, and we had to work on a video assignment. I was working on a video assignment, and that video assignment wasn't, like I wasn't working on it because it was due the next day or anything like that. I was working on it because I really wanted to just finish it and get it done. And I didn't even realize how much time was going. It was probably like 5 o'clock. I had worked on that video from 5 o'clock that evening to 5 o'clock the next day for 24 hours. And I didn't even really realize it. And that's when it sunk in with me. There's something here. I need to follow this media thing. So if you have strict parents, you have to establish and understand and let them know that your parents are not going to always be around. And you're going to have to live with their decision for your life if you follow their path for you. And they might not even be around to see you live into the fulfillment of that thing all the way through. And here you are living someone else's dream with your life. You got one life. So you better take advantage of the life you have by doing what you know is in your heart, the right thing to do.
Wow. No, that is really great. And I like the fact that you mentioned, faith, how that this is something that you believe that God has called you to, which leads me to ask, how has your faith helped you in this entrepreneurship journey?
Oh man, it's been everything. There highs, there are lows, and there are gonna be more of those, both of them. And I can truly say God has helped me through this process in many ways. One incident I always recount and share is that first 3 months in entrepreneurship, a full-time entrepreneurship. So I was at I had just, so I didn't share this, but for the dream job that I had in a TerraCycle, that the place where I worked in the corporate setting, I was there for 4.5 years. I always wanted to leave, and I, instead of leaving, I was let go. Right, let go from my dream job. I was the global digital media manager, and so what I was already had some clientele on the side, so I was building this business, and it was going smooth. And so I wasn't too disappointed when I was like, wow, I the humiliation of getting let go, but on the other hand, it's like, wow, I get to live in this dream that I've wanted to be, which is an entrepreneur and doing my thing. And so now I have a client. This is 2 weeks after getting let go. 2 weeks later, I lost my biggest client. That big lesson for entrepreneurs. That client was 60% of my revenue.
Wow.
60%. I was just like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Right. So I just got let go. And I just remember the panic and the fear and the disappointment. And I'm just in a state of shock. And I just prayed and cried out to God. And God taught me something that I'll never forget. He shared that, David, it was easy for you to trust me when you had a job. You knew that, this direct deposits coming. You know, you knew that this is going to happen and all that. And you knew that, you know, it's easy for you to tithe. It's easy for you to do the things, you know, you needed to do. So you could trust in me when you had a job, because there's really not a lot you need to do to trust me and you have a job. But he said, you need to trust me as you have a business. I am still your source, even
Hmm.
if you have a business. And that was hard to understand and accept, because wait, God, I'm the one going out here making it happen. And he's like, no, I am the source. And I didn't know he was going to prove it to me that he was the source a couple weeks later. But he said, so he taught me this lesson that no matter what, if you have a job, I'm your source. If you have a business, I'm your source. Even though you're the one grinding, going to make the deals happen, close the deals, you know, meet clients, all that stuff. So 2 weeks later, after getting let go, I lose my biggest client, right? 2 weeks after this whole experience of losing my biggest client, God puts in my heart, reach out to former clients and past clients. I just started doing some outreach and doing some connection, right? So I did that, and one of the clients was like, Dave, I'm so glad you reached out. This is perfect timing. We actually need some support. And I was like, all right, great. So they're like, all right, cool. This is what we need to do. This is what we need to do. And that deal ended up being 5 times as much as the client I just lost per month.
Wow.
And so God has been integral in this whole process for me. I can't do it without him, and I wouldn't try.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. And I want you to go into detail like that lesson that you learned, because oftentimes in entrepreneurship, we get one client or we get one deal or whatever, or we see something working, we get so caught up that we either we get too comfortable to learn or to grow. So what were you able to learn in that experience, once that partnership ended?
Yeah, great question. You know, that exactly. There's a scripture that talks about, or a story in the I think it's in Genesis, Exodus, about God's people, getting manna from heaven, and then all of a sudden, the manna stops, and they're like, "Wait, what's going on?" Like, you know, um, that was the reality of that. Like, I did get, there are some points I did get comfortable. Like, wow, I'm making X amount of dollars, and I got this steady thing coming, and I learned that God is always moving, right? So it's never like you should never get comfortable, because if you look at the laws of nature, there's only two things that are happening. It's growing or dying. There's
Mhm.
no in between in nature. Nature just doesn't say, I'm just coasting. Like, no plant is just coasting. It's growing or it's dying. It's one or the other. Business, you have to be growing or dying. You're going to die either way. So you're either headed towards growth or you're headed towards decay. And I didn't realize that at that point, and I got comfortable. I did get comfortable. And they switched later. That specific partnership, it was about eighth month into the contract. They switched partnerships, and this person that came over, I didn't have favor with that person. That person was a really unruly character. And a couple months later, that thing ended up drying up. So my point was, like, I learned from that experience that you can never get comfortable. Like, and my mindset has changed. And I'm not saying this to brag or saying, I'm just giving room for context. Last week we closed a deal, about 15K for a deal, right? After that, I'm on the phone, still working the phones like nothing happened, because I don't look at that anymore. I don't look at I have a mindset now that's like, I can't be comfortable. I start at zero every day. We start at zero, you know? So I'm like, yeah, somebody might be like, well, I just did that last week. That was great. Well, no, that's last week. What did I do today?
Yeah. That's very true. That's very important. It reminds me of what you call it. This Nehemiah Davis. He always says all the time. Never check the scoreboard. Every day is a new day to get better. And
Yeah.
this is definitely something for those who are listening. To learn that every day is a new opportunity. Every day is a new opportunity to grow. Either you're growing or you're dying. And that
Yes.
leads me to ask. In your 6 years of business, helping influencers, business owners, what are some mistakes you see people make when it comes to, marketing their brand, bringing more awareness for their brand?
Man, the first mistake, and I've been guilty of this, is they stop doing what works. Like if something's working, you got a marketing thing, you got a ad process going, you got webinars going, you got whatever it is. Like if it worked, keep working it. Don't stop working it. And I've been guilty of that, like I said. Because there's something in psychology where people just feel like, oh man, well, let me go ahead and try something new. Like, wait, why? Just do what was working. If the podcast is working, keep doing the podcast. If the webinar is working, keep doing the webinar. If the challenge is working, keep doing the challenge. So I keep a lot of mentors around me, and I see them, and one of the things I'm admiring, specifically one of my mentors is Myron Golden, and I see this guy, you know, execute the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. So that's one big one. Another one I'd say, when it comes to and so with that first one actually is being consistent, right? It kind of goes to hand in hand, right? So keep doing what's working, but also keep being consistent, right? Like you just never know what can happen from your consistency, whether it's a podcast, whether it's your posting, whether it's your LinkedIn strategy, whatever it is consistency is the key. That's what draws people in. But if I had to add, I wanted to add another piece that I see a mistake that people are doing wrong is they're not thinking about the fastest way to build trust online. So when you think about trust, right, business is done by the speed of trust, and so
Mhm.
this is why I like to mirror this in my business practices. If you look at the hierarchy of trust, the fastest way to build trust online is what we're doing right now, like live video, right? Person to person. I can hear you, you can hear me, so why not leverage webinars? If a person is not leveraging webinars, if you're not leveraging Facebook lives, Instagram lives, LinkedIn lives, live video is the fastest way to build trust online. So every business should be incorporating some type of version of live video. My preference is webinars, but yeah, that's my thought on that.
Yeah, that's really great. And I'm glad you mentioned webinar. Okay, it leads me to ask you my next question. What's your thoughts on using webinar versus creating challenges? I see like a lot of entrepreneurs, especially with Myron Golden, he's very big on challenges. That's something that they do 5-day challenge, 3-day challenge. While you have some other people, they like webinars. So, from your experience, what would you say is the pros and cons of these two different marketing strategies?
Yeah, great question. In fact, I think I just posted something about this today too, that I say do both, right? I say do both. Why not? Right. And I'll go into the pros and cons of both. Webinars can lead people to your challenge. So you can leverage them one to the other. So you can get more people to come sign up for your challenge. I am yet to do my first challenge. I'm about to do my first challenge. It'll be coming up here this September. I'm gonna be launching a challenge. And the thing that I already noticed, the difference is, one, a webinar is shorter, right? It's going to be, hour, 2 hours, some cases 3 hours at one time. And you're going to be able to, get some information from that person and get some feedback and get some information that can help you. You're going to also get some information that can help you from the challenge. The challenge is more immersive, right? Where you're asked to do something and get something done. And as you get something done, you lead from one thing to another. there's an objective to leave with at the end of it. So a webinar, there's no real objective to leave with of you getting something done. A challenge actually forces you to leave with a goal of something completed. So that is an advantage. But at the same time, if you're clientele like or you're somebody like me, I struggle to sit through a 5-day challenge. I don't got 11 to 1 every day for 5 days, right? Like most busy, productive entrepreneurs aren't going to have the time dedicate all that time to go through a challenge. So, and I've and no offense, I mean, I've been a part of Myron's challenge. I've never been able to complete a full one because of just the things, and maybe there's some things I got to work on. But that's the challenge of a challenge, is that people have to dedicate time to be able to go through the process and get it done. And not everybody has that availability every day. And then the webinar is in one shot. So it's usually you can make an hour or 2 hours available for yourself and in one shot, and that's it. You're done. You present the offer. So I like them both. So I say entrepreneurs doing both.
That's well said. And like with both, whether the webinar or the challenge, it all comes back to the customer, the client that you're trying to get to buy your offer or product. So, what are some keys to having great success with someone buying your offer or product?
Great question. It's having a great offer, right? So every great offer should do majority of the selling, right? I had this has happened to me multiple times. I share what we do. Hey, we do a service called White Glove Webinars. We run end-to-end marketing to market, to get your message, market your webinar, and clarify your offer in every stage. And we handle everything A to Z, right? So most people hear, oh man, I need that. Literally, they just say, I need that. And you need an offer that is so good. I learned this from Alex Hormozy, one of my favorite reads that I've been rereading. It says, $100 million offers, how to make offers so good people feel stupid saying no, right? Like that is where the offer helps to sell it. Because if the offer is so good, doesn't matter about the price. If I said to you, Demi, if I said, hey, if you give me 1,000, I'll get you 10, you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, you give me 10, I'll get you 100K. You'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Right. Like I didn't go into full detail, but my point is your offer is what helps to sell anything. If I just said the same thing, I said, if you give me 1,000, I'll show you some principles and teach you how to learn marketing. That's cool. But what's the payoff for me? What's the payoff for you? You want to know what's the payoff for you? Like it's about what you can help that person get. So one of the ways that I do that is by having an amazing offer. Like I was on a call just earlier, just like right before we came on here. The lady's considering me and another service provider. She said that you're double the price of the service provider, but I like what you're offering, right? Like it's not about the price, it's about the offer. So that's what I believe in. It's making an offer clear, and then great salespeople are great listeners. That's what it boils down to. If you listen well, you're going to sell well. You got to be a great listener, anticipate the client's need, potential client's need, answer their questions and solve their problems.
No, that's really great. I definitely want to say, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your journey, your entrepreneurship journey. I want to ask you, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years as an entrepreneur, as a digital marketer? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yes, next 5 to 10 years, definitely. Within 5 will be, I anticipate us being a $20 million company. Within 10, I do believe will be a $100 million company. And I will be heavily vested in the government contracting world. I'm already working on that now. Because guess what, when a recession, when all this stuff hits, guess who's never out of money? The
The
government.
government.
The government has always got money, and they're always going to have a need. They're always going to have something to serve. So every business owner should have uh, private contracts and government contracts. I believe that. So that's where we'll be from Kingdom Social Media side. But I truly believe I'll be operating completely in my full purpose, which is to help people to discover, develop, and distribute their gifts. So I have a goal. I have a goal to impact 1 billion people. And when I say impact, I help 1 billion people to discover their gifts and learn how to monetize those gifts to bring glory to God. And that's my goal. Will I hit that in my lifetime? 1 billion people? Maybe not. But the vision is beyond me. I can't do it in my own strength. And so I know God is going to take a move of God and other young people to mobilize to be able to make it happen. So that's what I see myself working fully in that and working on my nonprofit angle that serves that.
Not a problem. And you can quickly, go into detail about your digital marketing, for those who may be interested in being working with you in Kingdom Social.
For sure. You can find us at kingdomsocialmedia.com. You'll probably see, a few of the things we do, white glove webinars, premium online programs, schedule a call. We could chat, be me or somebody from my team, and how we can serve you. If you're looking to grow your business and scale your business through webinars, we are experts in that. So, yeah.
That's good. And I would definitely want to say thank you for your time. For those who are listening, I hope you guys don't see as another podcast guest that's on the Wealth in Christ podcast. I hope you guys take this information and apply it. If you guys are looking for a group of Christians who are building towards financial freedom, look no further than join the Pray and Invest group on Facebook. And if you guys don't know, I have a free study guide which can show you how you can get started in the stock market completely for free. And you can get it at my website, wealthinchristbrand.com. And thank you again, Mr. David.
Thank you, Demi. I appreciate you, brother.
No problem.